Hi everyone, and welcome back to my channel. Today we're going to be creating some gorgeous faith-inspired Easter decor DIYs using mostly items from Dollar Tree. I hope you enjoyed today's video, and if you haven't done so already, I'd love for you to click that subscribe button right below the video. For our first project, we're using 6 of the 1-gallon paint stir sticks. You can find these at Lowe's. We're going to be cutting down 3 of those to 5 inches. We're going to leave one completely whole, and the other 2, we're going to be cutting 3 inches off of these. So you're going to want to keep the 5-inch pieces. We'll set the ones with the handles apart. We don't need those. And then the ones that you cut the 3 inches off of, you want to keep the handles themselves and set the 3-inch pieces apart. We're not going to use that. We're going to sand everything down and nice and smooth, and then I'm using my Cricut mat to guide me to make sure I put everything on there straight. You're going to want to take that 5-inch piece, make sure that you are gluing the ruler part to the back side. We're going to place that right where the handle is, and then for the smaller handles where we cut the 3 inches off, we're going to go ahead and place a 5-inch piece on each of those. Then using some antique wax, I'm going to go over all 3 of these crosses on the front and the back, and then use a dry paper towel to blend it in and wipe any of that excess off. And I just love how the wood grain really comes through this antique wax, and all 3 of them are going to look a little bit different because they have a different wood grain. Now once they dry, I'm going to take some twine and I'm going to hot glue the end piece to the corner on the back of the tallest one first. Then you're going to wrap that around 3 times. Make sure it's nice and tight. Then go up and wrap around the other corner 3 times. Then you can glue that piece to the very back and cut your excess off. We will do the exact same thing for the other 2. So they're going to be looking something like this. We are now going to be using one of these signs that I found at Dollar Tree at Christmas time. I thought it is the cutest shape and it will be perfect for an Easter DIY. I'm going to paint the entire sign with 2 coats of white chalk paint, except for the metal part that's in the front, because you could use this as a 2-sided sign if you like. Now we're going to take some antique wax and I'm going to dry brush around all of the edging to really bring that outline out and give it a little bit of a distressed look. And then I created a decal on my Cricut on this gorgeous gold permanent vinyl. I have this as a free printable on my website. The link to my website is in my description box below. Just click on that, go to free printables, and you can download this and trace it out and put it on your project using a marker or paint if you don't have a Cricut. I'm going to find the center, and then I'm going to place our tallest cross using some hot glue right there in the center. And then you could just add each of the other crosses on each side, but I kind of wanted mine to tilt a little bit. So I'm going to bring the cross down and draw a line at the very bottom to get my angle. Then I'll use my miter shears to cut that angle. Flip that over on the back side, and I can use that as a guide to trace out the angle for the other cross. And then again, use my miter shears to cut that off. So this is just a personal preference because I kind of wanted mine to lean out a little bit. Then you'll glue one on each side, and this project is finished, and I absolutely love how it turned out. For our next project, we're using one of Dollar Tree's wood wreath forms and some of their Easter lilies. Now I'm going to use 6 of them, and they only have 5, so you will need one off of another bundle. I'm going to place these through the wreath form, and I'm going to put 3 at the bottom and then 3 at the top, and they're kind of going in opposite directions. Then I'm going to take the end pieces and tuck them down in the back of the wreath form, and that's going to hold everything in place. Now I found this burlap at Walmart, so I'm going to use a medium brown and then somewhat of like a white color. I'm going to cut down 2 pieces of the dark brown at 9 inches and 2 of the white at 7 inches. I'm going to gather them together in the middle, and I'm going to crisscross or have them go in the opposite direction for the 2 darker ones, then do the exact same thing with the 2 lighter ones, placing that on top. Then take a piece of twine and wrap that around from corner to corner, double knot that in the back, and then you'll take that twine and go in the opposite corners to make sure you have all of your burlap tied together. So you'll just flip it around to the opposite side, double knot that again in the front, and then you're going to pull your twine to the back so that we can use that to attach to our wreath form. So I just centered mine in between the flowers, double knotted it in the back, cut the excess off, and make sure you fluff your bow out real pretty. Then I'm using this wood cross. I found this at Family Dollar, but Dollar Tree does carry these. This is the barcode for Family Dollar if you are interested in that. It measures 9 inches by 5 3/4 of an inch. And I'm using antique wax and a sponge brush to just go over that raised portion on the outside of the cross, as well as the sides. I want to keep the center that neutral color that matches our wreath form. Once you have allowed the wax to dry, I'm going to flip it over, and on the back side at the top and the bottom, I'm going to glue 2 strands of twine so that I'll be able to attach the cross to the wreath form. I used the cool setting on my hairdryer to kind of speed that up and let that hot glue cool down. Then you can attach this on the opposite side of your bow and use your twine to wrap it and double knot it on the back at the top and the bottom to hold that in place. And I love how this one turned out, but I would love to know what you guys think. For this project, we are using one of Dollar Tree's wired crossed wreath forms and 3 of the 11-foot nautical rope. I started in the center, and I'm going to work my way to the end of the longest part of the cross, and I glued the end of the nautical rope, held that in place, and then I'm just going to wrap it and keep it very tight. You don't need to glue it anymore until you get to the end of the nautical rope. When you get to the end, because you're going to run out before you can get all the way to the end, I glued that down to the wreath form, and then I glued my next piece to the wreath form as well as to the end of the first piece of nautical rope. Then you're just going to continue wrapping it and making sure that it is very tight and close together. When you get to the end, you'll just add some hot glue to all of those end pieces. Place your rope down, and then you can make sure that you wrap it back over that very end piece to cover that wreath form up. Then once you cut your rope off, and I apologize because the camera got out of focus a little bit, you'll want to make sure you glue your end pieces together so that it doesn't unravel. I did the opposite end and then started at the cross on one side and worked my way over till I got to the other side. Once all my ends are glued down and all of the rope is attached, I'm going to use some of Dollar Tree's, I hope I pronounced this right, hyacinths. I'm going to cut down 2 stems and place those at the top just by tucking that down into the rope, between the rope and the wreath form. And then I'll place 2 more in the opposite direction, going under the rope at the top of the wreath form. Then we're going to create a bow using some of that brown burlap. I cut that down to 10 inches, and then I cut down an 8-inch piece. I'm going to gather that in the middle and tie it with a piece of twine, but leave the length of your twine on there because we're going to add some of this gorgeous decorative mesh from Dollar Tree. It's a hint of purple with these beautiful white speckles on it. We're going to gather that in the center and add it to the top of our burlap. And then I'm going to take some plaid ribbon that I found in the Dollar Tree Plus section for $3. And I'm going to cut down 18 inches and then fold that over on each side to create a bow. And then we'll pinch that in the middle or gather it together in the middle. We're going to add that right on top of our decorative mesh. And I'm just going to twist that around to the back, double knot it. Then I can take another piece of burlap. This is actually 6 inches. We're going to gather it in the opposite direction. We're going to attach this to the back of our bow because this is going to help cover up the open spaces on our wreath form. So once we have that tied in place, we're going to go ahead and take our twine, feed it down through the wreath form, and make sure it's on the outside edges of the center because that way it will hold all of your floral stems together once you tie that really tightly. So as I was poofing out my bow, I decided I wanted to add a little bit more deco mesh to the center. And this completed this project, and I love how it turned out. And she is pretty heavy with all of that rope on there. For project number 4, we're using 5-gallon paint stir sticks from Lowe's. They come in a pack of 3. We're going to use 4 of them. We're going to cut 2 of them down to 17 inches, and then we're going to cut 2 of them down to 9.5 inches, and I just used my handsaw to cut those. We're going to sand all of the ends, make sure they're nice and smooth. And we are going to paint each one of them with Waverly Antique Wax, and we're going to wipe all the excess off with a dry paper towel. Now, while those are drying, I'm going to take a piece of cardboard. This is the center of the cardboard that you would get at Dollar Tree for like a science fair presentation. I'm going to mark out 19 inches and then 9 inches. So I'm going to trace out and cut out a piece that is 19 inches wide and 9 inches from top to bottom. I'm using my power scissors. You can find those in my Amazon store, and the link to that is in my description box below if you guys are interested in those. And I gave this 2 coats of Waverly's chalk paint in the color Celery. Now we're going to use some Gorilla Glue and some hot glue. I'm going to go ahead and line everything up to make sure it is in the right place before I apply the glue to the top and bottom corner, and then add our hot glue. And then I'm going to hold that down nice and firm to make sure that it adheres well. So your outside pieces, your shorter pieces, are actually the ones that are going to go from the top to the bottom, and then your longer pieces will fit in the middle. And I cut the cardboard a little bit smaller so it's not completely covering the back. I didn't want to see the edges of it from the side view. So on the back, we're going to add a piece of twine and some ribbon to create a hanger. And then on the front, we are going to use this wall art from Dollar Tree that is so beautiful, and it says "Faith can move mountains." Now you can apply this with some Mod Podge, but I just adhered it directly on the center of the sign, and I love this color combination. It is absolutely gorgeous. For this project, we're using one of Dollar Tree's wood crosses. We're going to give that 2 coats of Celery chalk paint on all sides. Once that dries, I'm going to take some antique wax, dry brush around all of the edging to really bring that outline out. I'm also going to do the other side exactly the same way. Then I created 2 decals on my Cricut, and I have this as a free printable on my website, which is in my description box below. And this is so pretty. It says 1 cross plus 3 nails equals 4 given. Now we're going to use some leftover square beads that I had in my previous project where I made the family sign and the wood riser. So we have 15 of the wood beads and 4 of the white beads. I'm going to take a nice long length of twine. I'm going to wrap that around 4 of my fingers about 20 times. We're going to create a tassel with this. Then we're going to take a nice long piece and cut that, feed it through all of those loops, pull that halfway through. Then we're going to take a shorter piece of twine to wrap around the very top of those loops. We'll double knot that. Then we can pull the excess twine from the knot down. Then we're going to separate all of our loops at the bottom and we'll cut those straight across. And then I'm going to hold everything together, and if I need to trim any of those pieces up, like the piece that I used to tie around at the top, I'm going to cut those down nice and even. And then I'm going to take the ends and I'm going to put the beads on the 2 ends of that tassel. So it is much easier to do this if you take a piece of Scotch tape and wrap it around those 2 ends to hold them together. And I did 3 wood beads and then a white bead and then 3 wood beads and then a white bead. And I'll continue to do that until I have all of the beads on there. So it should be looking something like this. Then I'm going to cut the ends down just a little bit, just so that I have enough to feed one through that hole, and then we can double knot that on the back. I'm going to put a dot of hot glue to make sure it stays in place and the knot doesn't come apart. Cut the excess off, and this garland is finished. I absolutely love how it turned out. It is so pretty. It goes so well with some of our previous projects in today's video. If you have a favorite out of today's video, please let me know in the comments section down below. I always love to know which one is your favorite. And if you haven't done so already, I'd love for you to click that subscribe button right below the video. Thank you so much for spending time with me today. Please take care, and I will see you guys next time.